Would you like today to be a continuation of that in some way? Would you, is there something else you feel like has come to the forefront of your attention? Where are we at?
So, uh, I definitely still feel like I have this tendency of getting a little bit too aggressive. Um, I am getting much better at catching myself about it though. Once I start doing it, uh, I still have those occasional like I'll feed 1 to 2 kills for absolutely no reason because I'm getting too aggressive, and I'll be like, wait, stop, take a second, shake it out. Let's be intelligent about this.
That's good.
I
Yep.
I'm also I'm still struggling to build that like good last hit muscle memory of like A stop A. Um when things like start popping off in the lane and it's not just me standing there versus my lane opponent and we're getting our last hits, I'll still revert to just like spam clicking around until I'm ready to last hit. But that's just something that I need to build a muscle memory on. I just haven't gotten like 60 plus games in to wipe out that old muscle memory and build a good new one. Um, I think so. I had 2 games I pulled for this session. One, I felt like I did really well. And that's the first one I want to look at. And I just want to know what I could do better when I am playing well. Because I know there's mistakes in there. I just am not skilled enough to see them. I just put that match ID. And then the other question I had was because we had talked about how Razor's like you own this area of the map, and that's usually the like the enemy safe lane jungle area. Um, I had a game where it became like my safe lane ended up coming to that area because that was the safest place for them to farm. And I wasn't really sure where I was supposed to go after that because I don't know that we ever um, talked about what to do when my team kicks me out of that area.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about that. I think that is, that does require a much more dynamic understanding of the game, but it's something that's definitely important to touch on. And, the first step is, okay, he's here now. Do I want to stay here too? That's the first question. And the second question is, where do I go? These are both, valid, like important questions to ask. And each situation will have a bit of a difference. And we'll just kind of have to go through that. Did that happens in this game particularly?
Uh, no, so this is the first game. Like I said, I felt like I played pretty well. I don't think I got overly aggressive. There was an ALK, so you can see me like running straight up. I was just like, okay, this ALK is gonna want to fall back to that medium camp. So started off just immediately blocked it. Um,
It's a cool
which
idea.
was funny because I feel like once or twice in the lane, like he disappeared, but it wasn't to either of the 2 normal camps, and I was like, ah, he's checking that camp. Um, somehow my spirit breaker lived there, or no, he ended
I'm
up dying.
curious about the fact that right now I'm seeing like this massive engagement here on my minimap, and I like from my perspective watching, you're just like there's like an explosion and cars crashing, and you're just like walking down the sidewalk. Do you know what I'm saying?
So I didn't. I saw the number of enemy heroes there, and I was like, I'm not going to be able to like positively impact that fight. Because it was just my spirit breaker there. And I felt I would have been better served like trying to pull the lane back a little bit by blocking, aggroing the creeps back, and just getting a good start to my lane. These 4 show up and they're still just like hard on him, and I was like, okay. Uh,
Yeah, what I'm saying is like it's not a matter of you contributing to the fight. It's like if I'm on the street walking and I see an explosion and cars crashing, I just want to know if something's going to fly into me. Like I don't want to stop them from exploding and cars crashing, but like these guys could have literally just like stopped right here and killed you, based on like what happened here. Like they could have just ignored that guy and gone on you.
Yeah.
You're literally in the middle of 4 heroes. So for me, like, it's I guess what I'm trying to say is, I don't wanna get too much in depth about this right now, but, like, if I see shit going on the map, just because I don't intend to go to it or change it in any way, I do need to know, like, "Oh, are they continuing to chase this guy?" Like, I could have known that 15 seconds ago, and maybe I walk this way, or maybe I wait here until they run by. Um, but just watching your player perspective, I'm like, yeah, I just imagined a bunch of explosions happening around me, and I'm just acting like they're not existing. That's kind of like what it felt like watching it. So I think you're right that you can't positively impact that fight. I wouldn't use that as like the criteria for when I would look at something. Um, when I look at stuff, I just want to know how it affects me. Is it affecting me because I might go to it? Is it affecting me because um, I might need to run away from this area? Is it affecting me because I want to go somewhere else? Sort of thing. So just thoughts there. We can keep going though. Let me know if you have questions.
So,
Yeah.
well, question about that. Are you saying like I should have like moved my camera over to see them? Because I did see it on my mini map. I saw four people and I was like, I don't really need to look. I know the four people coming over. Um,
If you saw this and your decision was to run through them, then we can just talk about that. Because like right
so my
now I see this
decision.
and I'm like running this way, you know?
Okay, yeah, my decision wasn't so much to run through them. I just wasn't sure exactly what direction my spirit breaker was going to run. Um, and from our previous session, like running up like towards that like towards the top left of the screen was like a big no-no. So I was like, no, I can't go there. And I guess I was just
Why
like
was that a
hyper
big no-no?
fixated.
Like walking up there.
Um, because I think as I say it out loud, it was a big no-no because I was being too aggressive and positioning in the lane to be aggressive walking up that way instead of running away from heroes. Um,
Aggression means running at heroes, not
yeah,
running a specific direction in the lane. So in an odd scenario where 3 heroes are flanking you from behind, like obviously this is a weird scenario and I don't expect you to like adjust to every weird scenario, but I think we've found the crux of it. Your idea was, "Oh, I'm trying to be less aggressive. Walking this way means aggression." That's what you've taken away from it sounds like kind of subconsciously. Maybe consciously, maybe subconsciously, right?
yeah,
When
I think it was subconscious.
Yeah,
Because it was just like I don't want to go too far forward in lane. And I really wanted to stay nearby for creeps, so I didn't even consider going back to my tower to wait for them to pass.
all of this makes sense. I mean, at the end of the day, you asked me like, what did you want me to do? Like, look at the fight and stuff. So, what I've noticed for myself is I sometimes, as a coach, get a little bit too fixated on like what I wanted you to do. I think the more important thing is you understand. Like, I try to help you understand the problem I see, and then I just, I want to hear from you what is preventing this from happening. So, like, all I'm trying to avoid here with this fight, like, whether you look at it or not, because that's your judgment call if you need to look at it. What I'm avoiding is walking through 4 heroes like this. Like,
Yeah,
that's what we're trying to avoid, right? So it's like, if for me, I like to look at stuff because it helps me understand, oh, they're going to continue to chase him. If they keep coming, then I'm already kind of knowing I'm going to go this way because that's where they're coming from. Like, this is just, it helps me kind of plan it out in my head. But I could also see that I don't necessarily have to look. Just like I can just kind of monitor, oh, they're chasing him on the mini map. Like, I don't necessarily have to look. But I think we got to the crux of it where, you know, it's funny because when I talk about you being overly aggressive, it's good that you're working on it, but then you kind of ran with it subconsciously in your own way, which is like me playing up in the lane is what's aggressive. But for me, it's positioning based on enemy heroes, and there are going to be random times where supports are flanking you like this, like not as 4, but it's just a CM or something in lane flanking you, and you're more passive by running this way than running this way. Do you see what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
So
I
go ahead.
was also a little surprised that Bara ran four heroes right past me.
I mean, this whole
I kind of
situation's very strange for me. I'm just like, you
yeah.
just look like you're fucking existing in the world around you blowing up. Like that's what it looks like to me. So that's why rather than telling you need to look at this fight, I think a better thing is, I think we can just. It sounds like your gut is okay. I don't want to be a part of this. I want to be more passive. I'm focusing on being more passive. That's great. Let's just wire that to if I want to be more passive, I can be more uh versatile, I guess you could say, about the direction that means. It's not a specific direction. It's that in 90% of situations, the enemy heroes are over here. So that means aggression is to walk this way. But in general, it just means aggression means walking towards heroes. Passivity means walking away from heroes.
Mhm.
So that's my main takeaway. I don't think we have to like beat this any further, but I do think like your instinct is good. I just want to quickly rewire it a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that was a weird scenario. You don't see that very often, but I think if we understand exactly why we're doing things, it allows us to adjust to super weird scenarios. Like you just be like, oh, I want to play passive. I see 3 heroes over here. I guess I'll run this way. Like that would be like you're not processing all of this super, it's not some like it is meant to be subconscious. And your passivity was just a little bit misguided in terms of what you think passivity means, which as long as we tweak that a bit, I think we're good. Keep the instinct, tweak it a little bit, and we're good. Yeah, Blaine seems fine. Let's see. So against double melee like this, especially Alk. So the reason why I say Alk is because Alk has virtually no way to fight back. And like he either threatens you or he doesn't. And like, so I look at these scenarios in the lane where like I'm about to hit level 3 and I just see this when I'm level 3. And for me, the way that Razor quote unquote dominates the lane is when he's allowed to stand on top of it and dare somebody to walk up. It's very different to walk into them than it is to stand like say the creeps walk past you to this range creep rather than sitting back here CSing it, you would stand like right here. And your intention isn't to walk at the guy, your intention is if he goes for that range creep, I link him. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think your version of aggression that I flagged as a problem was if you want to be aggressive, that means walking past creeps and like forcing a trade. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And instead, we can position ourselves on our own creeps, like the ones that they want to get, and be like, if you go for this, I'm going to fuck you up. But if they don't go for it, then nothing happens. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So a lot of times with really high level players, they know what the enemy wants, they know they want the creeps, and they put the enemy intentionally in a really awkward choice. Do I give up the creep or do I go up for the creep risking taking a bunch of damage? And that's what I think is like calculated aggression. Is Are you following me?
Yes.
Cool. So I think we can use your aggressive um, tendencies in a positive way, and we can just redirect them to don't force fights on people. Your entire job is to control the creeps that they want to CS and just think if I feel strong, I can just stand in a way that if he walks up for this, he gets fucked. And then if he doesn't, you just free farm. And we don't need to kill them. We just need to prevent them from walking up and getting free creeps. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool.
So I do have
Yeah.
a question because my bearer was like really aggressive, which is fine, I guess, because that's what bearer does, kind of. But I felt like I was spamming my plasma wave a lot just to slow them down, not even as a nuke, just as a slow, so that he could walk back and not die. Um, and I just felt like I was horribly out of mana the entire time. Um, It, I guess the question is, was I right to use my Q that way, or do I just kind of leave Barrett to fend for himself so I have mana to? Because like right now, I don't even have the mana to link Alk if he does go for that ranged creep.
Yeah, so I think it's a good question. I think largely what you've been doing up until this point is pretty reasonable. Like what you've been doing is cautiously assisting Spearbreaker because Razor's not a very strong level 1 and 2 hero. Like, he's okay. You can nuke them with Plasma Field. It's like a decent nuke, but Razor is like a scaling with levels hero, like he gets much stronger as the lane goes on and towards level 6 and stuff. And so what I'm trying to say right now is, in my opinion, what's led up to this has all been reasonable. And that's why I kind of fast forwarded through it. I was like looking at it and I'm thinking, okay, what you're doing looks fine. And so I guess what I'm mentioning is that Razor has a potential really strong power spike at level 3. Because if you are against double melee, like 2 points in link can be insanely strong. Like, it depends on the lane. If you're against like a Drow, Undying, it's probably not a very strong lane to max out link, because you standing menacingly on range creeps, the Drow's just going to click you. You know what I mean? And it's going to suck. And so you're going to have to back off. And instead of like walking aggressively to get their range creeps, you have to fish for them with your plasma field. So in those type of lanes, it's going to make a lot of sense that you go like 3-1-1 or like 3, whatever. You max out plasma field. Those type of lanes where you don't feel like you can stand on top of the creeps. Big difference between standing on top of the creeps and running past the creeps, just to be clear. Big difference there. And so right now, I think your gut has been serving you well with the way you've played this lane, other than that like super fucking weird level 1 thing. And so what I was trying to say right now is you have an opportunity to just control the fuck out of this lane right now. Like, I want you to pause and see, hey, level 3 is a potential power spike for Razor. Maxing Q just means continue passive trading, nuking for CS, harassing both the support and the carry kind of equally. While maxing your W is, I dare you to fucking walk up for this range creep. I dare you. And Alk's a type of hero that hates that, is what I'm trying to tell you. Like, Alk, Lifestealer, all these guys that have to like melee range, walk up for a creep. They have no other way to get it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then they have no response if you link them. It's like, well, their response is to run away. Maybe Alk will stun you on the way out, but it like feels really bad that he has to channel a stun defensively and run away from you. Like, that feels really bad. And you would be trading 65 mana for his, 100 mana, and you still got like 40 damage from him, and you still control the lane and stuff like that. So I was just trying to mention that up until this point, I think everything you said made sense about your comments about Spearbreaker. You're cautiously assisting, effectively, is what you're doing. Where you're like, let him do his thing. He's being a bit aggressive. I feel like I can help by hitting plasma fields, but that's it. And that's what you did. So that makes sense. And this was just a moment where I get a second point in link right now, and then I'm going to effectively stand right here. Like, for the rest of the lane, I'm just standing right here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. That's my only criticism, is that you went for the second point in link, or sorry, plasma field, kind of just by default, because a lot of lanes, that's good. But now I want to help you distinguish between the lanes where this is good and the lanes where this is good, because you play a lot of Razor. So
Yeah.
Any questions about that distinction or any of that?
No, that makes sense. It was percent default, like, oh, level 3, let me get my second point in link, or not link, plasma field.
The cool thing about this is I've actually started trying to reframe my coaching a little bit. So every player, no matter what MMR they are, they tend, no matter what hero they playing, they tend to gravitate towards the thing that is statistically better. Like, I think in 60 to 70% of lanes, at level 3, you take a second point in plasma field. And I've noticed that people just generally do that. We're pretty perceptive. We like pick up on positive and negative feedback. And if you were to do 100 games blind, like without thinking about matchup at all, it's better to level Plasma Field. And that's the majority of what people do. So, meaning like they come to the thing that's more than 50% correct. And over time, what I'm trying to teach is let's now understand consciously why what you're doing is correct so that you can identify the other 40% or the other 30%. And so I just want to show you that like it makes sense instinctually why you came to Plasma Field. But now even just a tangible takeaway for you as Razor is going into the lane, like before you even lane, like this is pregame, you can just think, is this likely a level 2 or level 3 Link lane or level 3 Plasma Field lane? You know, like we can just add that decision to something you ask yourself pregame, and then when the time comes, you'll choose it, right? And remember, level 2 Link means I'm standing on top of the creeps, daring them to walk up, and level 3 Plasma Field is about, you know, I kind of have to defensively aggro. I have to like fish for range creeps with my nuke, that kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's quickly you know, actions. So pregame question. Is this a level or I'll just say, do I level Link or Plasma Field at level 3 in this lane? Link means stand on top of creeps menacingly, and Plasma Field means like defensive aggro and nuke range creeps from afar. Okay, let's go ahead and move forward. I think that will have a heavy impact on just you capitalizing on lanes a bit better. You know, like this situation is even better with you having a point in W instead of Q, but it still works because you identified a time to just punish him, which is great. So like I generally like I'm willing to do this as much as like they're willing to walk into it. Like if I level a second point in Link and the guy's just not adjusting at all, sure, I'll put a third point in it. You know, I'll just fuck him up even harder. But then I just think, has this guy gotten the message that he's not allowed to walk up for creeps? And if he's gotten the message, then I'll just go back for Plasma Field. Any questions?
No. That makes sense.
Cool. Because we don't want to like overdo it and be like, well, I can just be aggressive. Why not just 1-4-1? You know. Yeah, so this is a moment where this Alk, I would have fucked this guy up. Like, I would have a second point in Link, and I would walk at this guy underneath his tower with Link on, and I would fort the creeps, and this guy's getting fucked up. You're really strong. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, that's something I never think about doing, like aggressive fort, and something I need to start considering more. My whole thought process was like I'm winning this lane. And the lane was already pushing in. I was like, I'm just gonna force these creeps into his tower, make him miss some last hits, drag the wave over, farm it myself on the hard camp.
That makes sense. I'm going to ask you a question. What about this whole scenario tells you not to interact with the Alk? Like right now, you have full HP level 4, he's half HP level 3. Why are we avoiding interacting with him?
I think up until that point, I had lost track of where the Magnus was, and my bearer wasn't with me, so I wasn't like I didn't like I said I never something I need to start thinking about is aggressively fortifying for the creep wave.
Okay.
So I like that thought never even entered my mind of use the creeps to tank the tower and just go kill the Alk. So I was like, okay, Alk's under his tower. I can't fight him. What do I do? I guess I'm just gonna pull this wave and force him to last hit under tower while I farm more.
I got you. Okay, so I have an idea for this. So I think the big thing that came from last session and the replay follow-up was let's just first we had to kind of like let you tune into your own instinct of being overly aggressive. But then I also don't want to shut down aggression. I think like your instinct to be aggressive can be honed and can really serve you to be like, dominating people and stuff. So I want to redefine aggression versus passivity. So like first and foremost, what we said earlier is generally speaking, passivity means running away from heroes, and aggression means running towards heroes. That's like pretty straightforward. Hopefully, we'll make it a bit more dynamic with your movements on the map, whether there's like randomly 4 heroes running at your lane at minute 0. That's kind of the purpose of that one. Any quick questions on that?
No,
Okay.
I'm good on that.
Okay. And then the second part is do I want to interact with this guy? And that just means, do I think he is stronger than me? If we were to just head on collide while we're farming. Like, he walks at the creep wave, I walk at the creep wave, who wins? So, it's not that I need you to, like, what I want you to think about is, I don't care if you don't necessarily know how to interact with this guy, but I want you telling me, I so badly wanted to go on this guy. Here's all the reasons I didn't. And then I teach you something. Does that make sense? But like
Yeah.
you were mentioning like the Magnus and didn't think about the fortification of the creep wave. I don't think the fortification of the creep wave is like the takeaway for me here. Like I don't think so. It's a tool and it's important, you learn it over time. But like I would want you thinking, oh man, I so badly want to run at this Alk. And man, I guess I can't because he can just acid spray the wave. And then I'd be like, oh, well, then you can fort it and dive him. And that's like how I want you to, like, I basically in future coaching sessions or if we do something in like class or whatever, I'm going to try to ask you, did you want to interact with this guy or not? Did you feel stronger than this guy or not? That's what I'm going to ask you. And then as long as you are kind of checking in on that with yourself, that's just something I like to ask myself, honestly, like every creep wave. That's kind of like a subconscious thing I've trained over time. And I think with your tendency to aggression, it'll help you a lot. It can be like what you work on at all times where you're just thinking at every stage of the lane, do I want to be near this carry? Do I want to be near this carry? Do I want to be near this carry? Like you can just keep asking yourself that. And how exactly you execute that is over time going to improve. But if we can just get you answering that right question, then I think the actual strategies to doing it, like talking about standing on top of the creep wave and diving him with fortified creeps and stuff, that stuff can be pretty simple to teach. Like we just need to get you in that right frame of mind, I think, and then the solutions will just kind of come. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay. Cool.
Because like I definitely felt stronger than Alk at this point. This was just because I didn't really like seriously consider diving tower, so this was my solution to continuing to pressure and while not directly continue to like interact with him, just like that. This was the solution I came up with.
It's a completely like I see what you're doing. I just think this is a big missed opportunity. So, like, do I think what you're doing is atrocious? No. Do I think you could punish the shit out of this guy? Yes. So, I'm viewing this as a missed opportunity, but not like a blatant fuck up. Like, what you're doing is once again correct in a lot of scenarios. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
so same idea. Like, it makes sense why you're doing this. You're like, yeah, I'll get an extra camp off of it. Alk might miss some CS in her tower. That it all makes sense. Like you're being a bit more efficient with your farm by doing so. And sometimes that's the best you can do. And then we're going to try to point out that there are times where there's more you can do. So, okay. So you're going Falcon Blade. What was that? That was like some Invis guy or something? What was that? Okay. Okay. So I think a big thing here is you've been consistently sitting on low mana for a really long time. This, for lack of a better description, is a terrible plasma field. Like, what is the goal of this plasma field right here?
Uh, Honestly, I don't know.
Okay. My goal is you've been low on mana all lane. It made sense when you were level 2 because they were consistently fighting your spear breaker, you were contributing, and you were using spells on heroes. If we are low mana, spells don't go on creeps. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Okay. So just spell usage on creeps. This is like when you're strong, especially, okay? Like you've won your lane. So like when you are strong, spells get reserved for heroes. That means that if you can cast a plasma field and still have enough mana to be aggressive if somebody comes, then yeah, cast the plasma field. You know what I mean? It's like be efficient. Don't just sit there at full mana. But I want you to think because you casted this plasma field, you don't have the mana to cast all of your spells if Alk comes back. And that's what matters to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes perfect
So
sense.
all we need is spells left over. That's the key. Do I have enough mana if a hero comes back? That's the main question. And that's how we balance efficiency. Because like that plasma field secured 2 creeps. It like pushed the wave a little bit faster. It's not like a completely pointless plasma field. It's just, when Alk comes back, like right now, I would want to walk at him. You did have your link on cooldown, so maybe not in that exact instance, but in other instances. Okay, so you get gone on. Okay, it worked out. You're going to go base. Nice tanky items. Oh, you're going Maelstrom. Gone more the carry route. Last time we coached, it was Auras.
Yeah, so I I took a couple days
Oh, yeah, now you
and
fucked them
I
up.
just
Continue.
like I was just messing around in a bot lobby testing out different farming items. It was after one of the classes where we talked about how just getting shard is like super greedy. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense because it literally does nothing but let me farm early game. Like later game, I've been picking it up if they're just like death balling and I need to stand in the middle of them. But so I like tested out a bunch of different like farming items. I tried Vlad's. I tried just like casual Yasha to farm with. I tried a few different things and I just landed on Maelstrom. It felt so good, especially like going Maelstrom into Wraps has felt really strong. I don't remember what I do this game. Um but yeah, it just seems to like check all the boxes and it lets me build into Mjolnir, which lets me scale harder with Link in like the mid to late game. So I've really loved going Maelstrom.
Have you ever had it feel bad for you to go
No.
Maelstrom? Okay. So this is where we try our best to hypothetically critical think here. What is a potential drawback of Maelstrom, in your opinion?
Um it does nothing to tank me up. So if they have like an OD or a Quap or a Lena and they bring like that plus 1 or 2, they are just gonna blow me up. Um
I'm
I
gonna
do
pause. I'm gonna go
have
ahead.
well, I was just gonna say, I'm pretty sure in my guide I have Mage Slayer. Like I wrote my own little guide for stuff I wanna buy. I have Mage Slayer in there. I just really haven't found a game where it made sense to go Mage Slayer first instead of Maelstrom. Like it's in there. It's just I haven't run into it yet.
Okay, I really liked your answer, by the way. Like I think it was insightful and accurate. Do you? So just to make sure we're on the same page, what is your job between 8 to 14 minutes ish? Like, what's your job in that range? Because that's when you're buying that first like 2 to 3 K gold item. So you won your lane. What did we discuss your job was?
My job was to live basically in that little triangle of camps there, and deny them to the enemy carry, starve them while the rest of my team does stuff around the map, and I just keep an eye to see if I need to rotate.
That's exactly what you're doing here, right? Like what I've been
Hmm.
watching for the last 5 minutes. Like if we rewound, you're kind of just doing exactly what you just said, right? I see you farming these camps, running in here, taking this camp, taking the bounty. That's what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
So why? What I'm trying to do right now is really help you gain even better clarity of why Maelstrom feels good. Because the idea is I need to be tanky enough to maintain control of this area, period. And so there might be games where, like you said, if you go for Maelstrom in this exact scenario, you get ganked, suddenly you're booted out, and you're like an offlaner passively farming back here with a Maelstrom. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
So that would feel awful if that happened, where your teammates are like, "Why is my offlaner farming passively with a Maelstrom?" Nobody's really, I mean, most of the time, people aren't going to get upset with their offlaner going Maelstrom if he's like up here bullying, and maybe they'll see it and judge you or whatever. But the majority of the time, people would mainly get mad at you if it's like you over here farming passively like a carry, you know? So I just mentioned that to you because if you continue to go Maelstrom, there might end up being games where that happens. And
So
go ahead.
I I actually have a question about that, because the other thing I love about Maelstrom is, like, especially in the in-houses, not so much in pubs, but like in the in-houses, supports are really good about stacking the triangle. And Maelstrom lets me take those stacks if the carry isn't able to yet, or is just happy farming on the other side of the map. Um, even getting booted out of lane, I've personally liked the feel of Maelstrom because it lets me clear those two camps on the outside of the map and then get one of the camps in the triangle and look to stack the fourth camp there. So I guess there's a disconnect between what you're saying and Maelstrom letting me like catch back up into the game if things haven't gone super well, or if I get booted out of my
What I'm
area.
saying is if you don't go Maelstrom and you go Consecrated Wraps or Mage Slayer, and that allows you to play here instead of back here, that's a huge difference. If by
Okay.
building Maelstrom, you can't play here and you have to play back here, that's bad. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense.
So, my point is that your entire goal as an offlaner is to gauge your potential of how far up you can play. Now, say you lost your lane, right? And you couldn't play up here no matter what item you bought, right? You could literally buy the tankiest item in the game and you wouldn't play up there. Then Maelstrom might make sense there because you're farming back here anyways and you want to farm faster. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're trying to prevent is turning a one lane into domination of an area, into losing control of that area because we bought too many farming items. That's like what we're trying to avoid happening. So I'm not telling you not to go Maelstrom. I'm telling you that there's a reason why you like Maelstrom, because the first step of Offlane is to control an area. The second step is to spread your influence on the map, which means clear creeps faster. Like that's why, like in the past, a lot of offlaners go Radiance. Heroes like Axe go Vanguard because it allows them to tank more creeps and drag them into each other. And they want to accelerate. Like that's what they want to do. So for Razor, it makes sense. Maelstrom accelerates you. Like that's what you're feeling. It is a good feeling. It feels efficient. It feels powerful. And so I want to point like that makes sense. And my goal is, yes, maybe in your games right now, Maelstrom's correct 70 to 80% of the time, right? But if there comes a time where it isn't working anymore, I want you to see before it happens what I'm trying to tell you your goal is, and then you'd be able to adjust better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect
Okay,
sense.
cool. Um, so, just so uh aggression post lane means playing in this like triangle of camps. Ensure that if you won your lane, you gauge the investment in tanky items you must buy to maintain that control. Once control is secured, look to accelerate your farm. So that could be a big difference in a given game of going Maelstrom into Consecrated Wraps versus Consecrated Wraps into Maelstrom. Like, where 20 minutes in, you have the same 2 items, but the order in which you bought them is very different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's just a step 1 to you having like a nuance of, like, right now, this Maelstrom's working great, and I see why you built it. I understand why it feels good. And, you know, we're trying to avoid the situation that happened earlier where, yes, 90% of the time, walking down lane means aggression. You were trying to be passive. You walked backwards through 4 heroes. You know, those, like, unique scenarios where this won't feel good. And we just want to basically, so when it happens to you, you see it. That's the goal. Any questions about that?
No, not really.
Okay. It's like if you have Consecrated Wraps, you still die to that 4-man gang. So it's like Maelstrom
Yeah,
didn't.
like that happened,
yeah.
and I was just like, I don't know that there was a whole lot. Because even in that situation, because I do remember it, I was about to say, I think I'm about to die here. Like they were missing on map, but just randomly giving up that whole area of the map just because I don't see them felt horrible. I wasn't 100% sure what to really like, if maybe staying up near their tower so close wasn't correct, but like I think I'm still not supposed to like completely retreat all the way back to like my tower with them missing.
So what happens here is that, you know, you're kind of gauging they're missing, right? Like we're looking at the map right now. You see them right now. You're going back to a camp. You see them right now. And now they're missing right now. So my point to everybody I say is however much information you have is how much you're allowed to walk forward. So right now, it's not that I'm telling you to back all the way to your tower. It's that if you walk forward where heroes are missing, this is going to happen more often than not. So, like right now, I would take a more passive approach to this camp right here because there's still a camp right here and they've been missing for an extended period of time. And the longer they're missing, the more passive I do have to play. Because remember, if they're missing, they're not clearing creeps. They're not being efficient. Like, they're missing these down here. There's just creeps down here dying. So it's okay to back off, even if you feel strong and you want to control an area, because they're missing. So it's like the same idea of, so this is all about aggression versus passivity. When heroes are missing, the longer they are missing, the less we are allowed to walk towards their side of the map. So I try to tell people this is kind of an intro for you about consciously farming forwards and backwards. So we farm forwards when we have information. We farm backwards when we don't have information. Does that make sense?
Yeah, less info, less aggressive, more info, more aggressive.
And so it makes sense that you don't want to give up control of that area. But I just want to remind you that if they're letting creeps die under their tower, they're being ultra efficient. Or inefficient. Like they're wasting time, so the only way we give them time's worth is by walking up forward and dying to them. Like that's how we make their time worth it here.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
if
that
you
makes
felt
sense.
like you could clear this creep wave and then back off, sure. You know, like this is reasonable too if you think that's something you're allowed to do. Like you can toe the limits. Like, oh, they've been gone for 10, 15 seconds. I think I can get this creep wave and back off. Like we can have these discussions. Honestly, the highest level, it's just people dying where they're gauging like exactly how long have they been missing? How long is it going to take them to get here? There's like a lot of nuance there. And as long as you're just consciously making a decision of, oh, I don't really have information, I should be cautious to keep going, and you decide to like go farm these camps, or you decide to go farm these camps, sometimes you run right into heroes anyway. When you thought you were being passive, like sometimes I think I'm being passive by going to this camp, and I run into a bunch of heroes here, and instead I know I should have gone like this. I should have gone this direction. So there's a lot of nuance to this, but it's, for me, it's just introductory to you. It sounds like you understand the core of the concept. But also don't feel bad about like kind of giving up some control if that means they're just missing all the time. You'll hear me say it on stream where I'm like, I just don't see anybody, so I guess I'm just gonna chill. Like, that's just what I say. Where I say I don't see anybody, and that's like what I mean. I don't have to know exactly what they're doing. A lot of Dota is process of elimination, so if I can't eliminate things because they're not showing for a really long period of time, then that just is what it is sometimes. But yeah, this time around your team helps you. It's great. You guys are diving. So in this case, what do I want you to do?
So, like, one of the things, and I don't think I got it directly from you. I think it was more from the in-houses. I've seen a lot of people like dive behind the tier 2s. So like my like personal rule that I set is like don't walk behind tier 2s unless it's like very obviously a good thing. So like the rest of my team went behind their tier 2s, and that just seemed sketch to me, so I just walked the other way.
Okay. So you effectively in your head ended this fight. That's what you did.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Like you're like, I'm done here. Like I want you to trust your gut that like if my team keeps going, we can adjust that over time, but like if your gut says don't fight anymore, I just want you to trust that right now. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So, now gut says fight is over. What is your immediate course of action? First thing you do.
Fix lanes.
Check lanes. Yeah. Exactly. First thing you do. Check lanes. However long it takes you from this moment to TP bottom or immediately walk mid, that's your MMR. Okay? Let's just see. Maybe you nail it.
I did not.
Yeah, exactly. That's the idea. Go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't want to walk behind the tier 2, so I was okay with the fight being over. And then Quap found the Alk on that camp, and I was like, ooh, maybe we get more. And then at that point, bottom was already pushing back out, so I was like, okay, I guess I'm just gonna farm camps.
Yeah, the thing for me is, if you thought there was an opportunity with Alk there, it's a different story. But I'm just letting you know that as long as in your head you register that you think the fight is over, it's better to act on that instinct quickly than it is to, maybe I linger. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yep, don't
Okay.
be a lingerer.
Yeah. So I don't mind your thought process of like potentially going on that Alk, but if you told me, I thought, I don't really want to dive this guy, I think this is kind of over, then however long it takes you to go bottom. And the idea is now another person's going to go bottom. My thought there is if we TP bottom right now, if we were to TP bottom, anytime between now and the next like 3 seconds, we TP bottom. What's going to happen is by the time Legion's alive, this wave is cleared, the next wave is cleared, I'm walking like this, and we're like running at them again. Where this area is not being farmed by anyone on your team, you're going to like walk your way through these camps, potentially, then clearing mid, and all 5 of your heroes are like this. And then you're just going to fuck them up again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect
sense. But now, since while they're dead, nobody goes bottom, what happens is while they're alive, Witch Doctor goes bottom. And now you guys are all separated, just trading farm, which is not ideal when you are stronger than them. We don't want to just have to trade farm. We don't mind trading farm, but we want to do it in a way that we're all like efficiently grouped and stuff. And now look at what happens, right? Literally, I love Dota. It's so easy to tell you that, oh shit, my phone just dropped. It's so easy to tell you bad shit's gonna happen there. It's so easy. 1 second. And this is stuff that's really hard to explain to people. But I know you'll believe me, I think. Because you didn't TP at 17:15, your team fed 3 heroes at 19 and a half minutes. Do you see what I mean by how this played out?
Yeah.
Isn't that cool? I think that's fucking cool. I always, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it's cool to like. I'm a very process oriented person, not a results oriented person. So like I do watch your streams and your other coaching sessions, and it's not always apparent that like doing X is just better because it doesn't always play out that way. But yeah, this time it's super cool to just like have it right there. Be like, I should have TP bottom farmed it and then farmed my way back mid to top. And because I didn't, we're now giving up 3 kills.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it is it is the situation where most of Dota is hedging, where it's like, let's minimize the potential bad. And so, you know, when you have misplays, you're not always punished for them. But yeah, the whole idea of the crux of this is while they're dead, we separate so that when they're alive, we're able to group such that if something happens, we're kind of close together and we can fight back. That's the idea. Because we're up by 4K. The last thing we want is them getting 3v1s on the map. But that's the nature of lanes, is when lanes need to be pushed, your teammates have that instinct of Dota that they will naturally separate to go push the waves. So we need to do that when it's the correct time to do it. Otherwise, if we don't do it now, we do it later and bad shit happens. We are, you know, about 15-ish minutes left in the session, so I know we've gone in a lot in this game, and I just want to check in on how you'd like to use the last 15 minutes-ish of what we got here.
I'm trying to remember this exact game.
Because I think you said you had another game, potentially.
Yeah, the other one I just wanted to... Sorry.
You're fine, take
I
your time.
swapped the IDs. I don't think... Yeah, there's about like 20 minutes left in this game, but it stays pretty consistently in our favor um, the entire time. So yeah, if we could look at the second game and just
Sure.
ideas of where to go when my team boots me out of my area.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's good that we addressed that. Yeah, I think there's a lot of good potential with your tendency to be aggressive, and I can tell in that game I just watched that you did lock in on the area that you're supposed to be playing, so there's 100% noticeable improvement of execution there. And the death you had, in my opinion, the 1 to the 4-man gank, is a result of you being successful with, like, I want to control this area. I didn't feel like I was supposed to give it up. And that's the times where we get to talk about the nuances of when you give it up, what's the thoughts behind it. So I just want to clarify that I am happy with the fact that I see you consistently playing that area. I think that's great. Now we're going to see you apparently get booted out by your teammates. Let's see how that happens. Do you want me to skip the laning phase?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Only question about laning. I've kind of identified that Dro is a little rough with her orb effect, so I feel like in this lane I was being pretty aggressive about taking the ranged creep whenever I could. Is that correct, or do I just like let the lane play out?
This is definitely a max Q nuke range creep from afar kind of lane. So, I literally used Drow as my example. So you're definitely correct there. I think with your gut read of like the matchup with Drow and how you're supposed to play it. From what I'm watching so far, I think this is great. Like that aggression on Drow or Timber behind tower was fantastic. You forced reactions. You're backing off now. Your lifestealer is now top. Yeah, so you're in these type of situations, So, in these type of situations, tell me what your sense of urgency is right now. What is there to do in the game right now?
Um, so the random was our Shadow Fiend. He was happy pushing out bottom, which was with Lifestealer top. I was like, okay, I'll just do what I do, but bottom because we already lost our T1. I can at least own that area of the map and deny it to the enemy because they want to control it. But Shadow Fiend was there, so I was like, okay, that's not really great. Um, had my two supports keeping mid pushed out. And I know I'm higher on farm priority than my supports, but they still need some farm, so it's like I don't necessarily want to push them out of that. And also, I'm not going much past the river because they still have their tier two, and I didn't feel super safe going up that far. So yeah, I was just completely lost.
Okay. There's a beautiful way to describe this situation. My original question is, what is your sense of urgency right now? What is there to do in the game?
Nothing?
Yep.
Question mark.
Yeah. What is your sense of urgency? What is there to do right now in the game? That's like a question, right? That I like to ask myself. So, what? Okay. This is a trivia question a little bit. What's the worst thing you can do when there's zero sense of urgency in the game?
Feed.
TP somewhere.
Okay.
Do you know why?
Because when something does happen, I'm not able to respond to it.
Exactly. So you described this situation fantastically. Like, I'm glad you thought about all this stuff. That's fantastic. You're like, I don't really want to take farm from my supports. Like, honestly, Bounty Hunter needs a 6, so it is important he gets that. Lifestealer took over top. Shadow Fiend's controlling bottom. You have correctly identified there's nothing to fucking do in the game. So walk out of the base at camps and hit them. And if something happens, be ready to be there. Somebody dives your Lifestealer top. People go on your supports mid. You see them chasing your Shadow Fiend bottom, and you're already like down here, and you like run towards him to help him.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I do end up going bottom.
Well,
I
and here
didn't.
you TP top is why I'm
Oh, did
having
I?
this. Yeah.
Oh shit! I saw myself pointed bottom, and yeah,
So
I
what
think I
you're
just
effectively
defaulted
doing
to
here is kind
feeding
of
on
yoinking
mid.
your Lifestealer is what's happening.
Yeah.
But so the whole thing was you coming to me with, what do I do when my teammate effectively boots me out of this area? And I need you to, what happens here is you had a clear directive. Control this area, right? There are going to be games where your teammates, for some reason, do something that makes that no longer relevant. If Lifestealer as a hero needs to lane. Like, he just has to lane because his jungle speed is like fucking ass. So if he sees an opportunity to go to a lane, we don't need to like judge the guy. We just say like, okay, he took top. Like, the worst thing I can do to a Lifestealer who TPs to a lane to take it is go take his lane. Which is what you did. I'm not trying to like flame you. That is just bad, right, for his game.
Yeah.
So we don't want to do that. So, but you correctly identified that the thing I'm normally wanting to do doesn't really seem possible here. But in this case, you kind of were like, well, I went back and did it anyway. That's like, which is, it's like, it's not bad. It's just, but we want you to now follow that gut of, okay, this is no longer relevant anymore. Once again, controlling top area of the map, just the same as the aggression in the laning phase. That's correct 60 to 70% of games. But then there's just shit that happens from teammates or enemies that make that no longer the default. And then you find yourself in a question of, which I even said this at the beginning of the session, is where do I go? What else do I do now? And you told me there's nothing to fucking do. And so if you can hone in on that instinct of there's nothing for me to do in the game and just don't TP. Just don't. Walk somewhere. We can talk about where exactly you're supposed to walk in like every given scenario, but you said it yourself. This gives you the options if something does happen to respond to it. And that's a lot of strength and map presence in the game of Dota 2, is not necessarily applying pressure and forcing reactions yourself, but being prepared to help your teammates as like be as flexible and versatile on the map as possible so that if something happens, you're prepared for it. And the number one way for that is teleport scrolls. So that's why I said, like, the only thing you can do wrong here is TP somewhere. And that's why I'm trying to tell you that, like, in the future, if you have this feeling, as long as you don't TP, that is huge progress. Just walk somewhere and be ready.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. In that specific scenario, it's correct to walk bottom, right?
Yeah,
Because
I would have
Shadow
walked
Fiend,
bottom there. I would have walked.
yeah, because
I
he's in
would
the
have
most
farmed through
danger.
here. Yeah, he's strong and he's in the most danger, and I'm like fine to be here. And also, out of where my teammates are, I have 2 teammates here at the time, and I had Lifestealer here. The only place I can't TP to help is here. So the most flexible I can be is walking this way, ready to TP here or here. Does that make sense? Why that's the most flexible?
Yeah.
So a lot of the times it's who's in the most danger, and also like, out of all the places I might want to be, how can I potentially be in at least 2 or 3 of them? And then I want to maximize that, because that makes my presence on the map the highest. Any questions?
No, that makes perfect sense.
Cool. I don't want to put like pressure on you or anything. I have high optimism that if we can just redefine the way that you're reacting to things you already have the correct sense on, we're gonna see like a pretty big breakthrough in improvement. So I'm looking, I'm optimistic, is what I'm trying to say. Because when I've asked you these questions, you are accurately assessing the situation. It's just the way that you're responding to the situation is not helping you the most. So that's why if we can just rewire that a bit, then that's fantastic. So UTP here. So in these type of spots, whenever we TP away from our team like this to farm, which if you want to do, that's fine. I need you to max the rule I have for this lane when you TP to the formerly known as dead lane. You're allowed 2 creep waves. If you walked here, it's different. Okay? For the same reason that you can TP back to your team. But when you TP to the dead lane, you get 2 creep waves. And then just go back to your team. Just farm back towards them. Does that make sense? Because we're just trying to make sure our presence in the game is there. If something happens, we're ready for it. And right now, by TPing bottom and then continuing to stay here, we're out of the game for 70 seconds. Effectively, to our team. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So kind of just
And
go ahead.
I haven't heard the term dead lane before. That's the safe lane minus a tier 1.
Yeah, it's pretty much the lane where it's the dangerous farm where there's no objective to take, no objective to defend. It's just dangerous farm. That's why it used to be called the dead lane. And it used to be like back before Twin Gates and huge map and stuff. It was like ultra dead area. Now it's like less dead, but it is still effectively like the useless part of the map. Like you're not accomplishing anything meaningful for your team other than taking dangerous farm. And if you want to walk there and then TP out, that's great. But if you TP here and then keep walking down, you're kind of just a liability to your team because they can't get to you if you get gone on, and you can't get to them if they get gone on. And if you get chased, you have no way out because you don't have TP. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Okay. So yeah, either walk to the dead lane to farm it, or if you TP, 2 creep waves back to your team.
Gotcha.
That is correct 95% of the time. Because right about now, the lane would just be sitting right here, and you'd be right here. That's like where you would be if you did that. And if a fight breaks out at the rune or anywhere here, you're ready. That's just the entire idea of it. If nothing happens, then it's fine. You're still farming, though. You didn't miss any camps that time. Like, instead of 2 camps in a wave, you farmed 3 camps. Like, you lost, like, 100 gold to be with your team if anything happens. And that's the type of hedging we talk about in Dota. So, yeah, you end up kind of statically controlling this bottom half without ever connecting back to your team, and now your team's feeding. It's the same idea as the last game, but kind of in inverse. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I might have been thinking that I'm not a I can't 100%, but I might have been thinking like, okay, I guess I'm just controlling this side of the map instead of the other side of the map. But that doesn't really work out because I don't have a way to quickly get to my team.
The emphasis about all of this is be able to be with your team as high of a percentage of the game as possible. If you walked here and you were instantly ready to TP anytime something's about to break out, and you TP'd here the second you saw this fight, it's a very different story. But you're not focused on that, which is fine. That you didn't know that going into this session.
Mhm.
So it's not like you're down here to occupy a dangerous area with the finger trigger ready if your team is starting a fight, and you're just looking at the entire game as like, I might need to TP ahead of time. I might need to TP to smoke with my team. But this doesn't mean anything other than you're farming. Like up here, you're like applying pressure, you're taking their farm, and your team can naturally connect to you. But when you're down here, the reason why it's the quote unquote dead lane is your team has nothing to connect to. Like, why would they go there? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what's the purpose? Like up here, it's like invading, potentially taking a tier 2, threatening Roche when it's 20 minutes. It's like down here, it's like, you know? So they don't have any inclination to come to you, basically.
So I guess a question then is when I'm playing Radiant, because you said there's no objectives, but Tormentor does spawn bottom at 20 minutes now. When I'm on Radiant side, should should I be more willing to TP to defend that tier 1 just so we can control Tormentor? Not that pubs ever do it, but like is it correct to put a higher emphasis on saving that tier 1 so that we can control Tormentor
I mean, that tier
and
1
that
does
area
matter for
isn't
that
dead?
reason, for sure. But Tormentor has been significantly nerfed that like, it's gonna maybe, instead of defending the tower 40% of the time, you defend it 47%. Like, it's like a slight increase. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, don't ruin your game and overthink it. But, if it's a really, really close call and you're not sure, then because of that, I would probably go. Because you're like, maybe it's worth it to defend. But at the same time, for Tormentor, if this tower is dead and this tower is dead, you can just control this area and then just walk through the gate. Like, you don't
Okay.
necessarily need this bottom area in order to get the Tormentor. So we can also control this area to get to it. So just kind of depends. But the tower does go up slightly in value because of that. I have a video, I think that came out literally today, that just says both these towers, this one and this one, matter a lot. Not necessarily because of Tormentor, but because of the Twin Gates. By having easier access to Twin Gates, that is a big deal. It's just a lot. It's free TPs, right? It's like free TPs around the map,
Mhm.
which is a big deal. So if one team has this tower and the other team doesn't, it does feel like a significant advantage for the team that took it and the other team didn't. But a lot of times it is also hard to defend that tower, so usually both towers die eventually. But if you see opportunities to defend it and just like fuck them up, it's like really good for sure. For sure. If less often than 50% for sure. Yeah, so we're about at time. I feel really good about the messages I've been sending you and feeling like they got received. I think the most important thing is just one at a time redefining what aggression means, the purpose of controlling areas. Your game sense about when you describe the situations is very accurate. Now we just need to take the points we gave about how you were interpreting it before and just we tweaked it and go from there. Any questions about going forward from this session?
Not directly. It's really just about like owning my aggressive tendencies in more constructive ways. Um, which is going to be, I feel like, a lot of trial and error.
It is.
Once I get it, it'll be great, and just trust the process on that.
Yeah, I think the worst thing that I could accomplish by as a coach by telling you what I did last time is to not to turn off your aggression. Like for me, it just looked really like you just assumed you were always supposed to do it. Which I was like, that just looks kind of assumed, and I don't think that's good. So yeah, I think honing it is more important than like shutting it off. I think that's very important, and I do think you have good instinct. Like I see you times like up here running at them and forcing reactions and stuff, and I think that's great. And so I'm already seeing a bit of improvement there, and I think it can be rapid in the sense that it'll be continuous because I think we've given you some good questions and like thoughts to go off of that when you're in your games and you reflect on the times you played and stuff, you can weigh it against this. And for instance, like if you're in the mid game, could I have been with my team? How often could I have been with them? And if the answer is like close to 100%, then that's a step in a huge direction compared to like TPing top where we saw it and then TPing bottom and staying here. If we change that, I promise like things like this are less likely to happen. The 17-minute fight top at the previous game where you didn't TB bottom, like that's an example of like you didn't clear creep waves while they were dead. So then when they're alive, you guys are all farming. That's just that's gonna enable you to be aggressive properly. Because these are the things that kind of get in the way of that. So yeah, I feel confident. Any final questions or thoughts from you?
No. Uh, yes and no. So I did have a sort of recent game where one of those situations where it was like whole team was top, bottom was pushing in, and I didn't, because we've talked about it in like the different classes how you can't tell your teammates what to do, you can just tell them what you're doing. Um, I just straight up told them, I was like, look, I'm gonna gate bottom, push out that wave, and then gate back top. I'll be back in like 20-25 seconds. Um, so I still remember the exact game. The Wind Ranger on our team like started freaking out, and then the 4 people on my team decided to walk through those 2 camps next to the enemy mid lane and proceed to feed under their tier 2.
Sure.
Um, and they were just like, "Oh, why weren't you there?" It's like, I wasn't there because I told you where I was going, what I was doing, and also why were you diving their tier 2 with all 5 of them up and me not with you? But that's one of those things where it's just gonna be, sometimes you're gonna have teammates that do silly things and sometimes you're not, but you just gotta trust the process, and on net doing the correct thing is going to be improvement and get you away from people who play like that.
The goal for me when I'm communicating to you guys is to I'm I always try to build like trust with people I'm coaching and the people in the community, and my hope is that I earn that trust, and that when I tell you guys what I promise you I think is really good for myself, like this worked for me, it's made me enjoy the game in the long term. I feel clearer headed about things. Um, that what I can't promise is that that is going to. One second, my educational Smurf game is supposed to start. Hey Whitney, will be there in 2 minutes. Finishing coaching. So where was I? So the point is that I'm telling you guys that I support that is the correct thing to do. And as a community, we can support each other, that's the right thing to do, because yeah, we can't control what people do in response to what we do. We communicated clearly. And the worst thing we can do is expect them to act in a way we want them to. That is the worst thing we could do. Because if you expect that, then you will be upset when they don't. And we just have to be confident that we did all we could, which is I thought this was correct. I communicated it to my team. And whatever happens from there, it's just life. Like, there are so many different interactions that are going to happen. I can't do anything about it. And that's easier said than done. But I'm just telling you that the expectation that bad things won't happen because we do that, it's going to make my advice to you completely backfire.
Yeah.
So for me, I had a really hard time letting that go because I'm like, oh, I have a healthier approach. That means less bad things will happen. And yes, I've noticed that less bad things happen, but still bad things happen.
Things do happen.
Yeah. So the most important thing is, like you said, and I hope it's not just like reciting like a mantra that just like you don't really believe in. But it's like, yes, it is trusting the process and knowing like what else can I do? Like blindly following them felt miserable as well. Like I don't have an option. I do have to like stand up to myself. I have noticed that if I get upset with them, I effectively vilify them in my head, and then that makes me resent them, and then I get really upset. So another layer to that honestly is probably down the line. For me, it was like the third or fourth step is I just have compassion for people who get really upset. I'm just like, hey man, I understand that's a frustrating scenario. You wanted to run at them, and I wasn't on the same page with you, but it doesn't change my actions. Like I don't regret my actions, but I understand that this is really frustrating for you. Like, and for me, I just feel peaceful after I do that. But that's another time and place to discuss that. I'm just telling you that if I get upset with people, it really takes me down, and I do lose conviction to acting this way. Basically, like I start to doubt if what I did was in line with what I want to do, and that makes that makes it really exhausting. To be honest, like it just makes it suck. So I'm not telling you don't be mad at your teammates, but it's more like if you find yourself being mad at your teammates, like there is a way to not be mad at your teammates. It just takes time to develop it. And that's all. So I like that you're doing that. I think it's really important. And I know that it's met with really frustrating scenarios. But I can also remind you that going and dying with them at tier 2 tower and watching 9 creeps bottom not get farmed, that also sucks. So it's not like this is a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. So the last thing I want you to do is flip to the other side again and just have it be the same way. That's not going to help either. So I do have to go because I have the educational Smurf game scheduled and I'm keeping some people waiting. So I'm going to let you go there, okay? We can talk later.
Sounds good.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
See ya.
See ya.
Okay. Sorry about that. Coming now. Okay. I am ending the stream, guys, because I'm not going to